The West has finally agreed to send modern tanks to Ukraine, but will its soldiers be trained in time for their arrival? While Ukraine was shocking the world by holding off the Russians, they were facing a critical problem. They only had so many resources, and they needed the West to keep sending them aid. One of the resources the West was hesitant to provide was tanks, especially since Ukraine's only major battle tank, the T-84, was an older model based on a Soviet design. This tank is fast and has a powerful gun, but it lacks many of the features seen on modern tanks. So they made a full-court press to get Western tanks. And it wouldn't be easy. Russia's fond of announcing any new delivery of weapons to Ukraine is an escalation that could trigger World War III. While this sometimes feels a lot like the boy who cried wolf, loudly and repeatedly, no one is sure what'll actually trigger retaliation from Vladimir Putin. So far, the West has denied any requests for offensive weapons that could hit Russia, like long-range missiles or fighter jets. When it comes to tanks, the US, Britain, and Germany were all willing to consider it, but were hesitant to go first, which led to a bizarre standoff where neither Germany or the US were willing to give up the game of chicken before the other. But eventually, it broke, and now tanks are headed to Ukraine. But Ukraine isn't getting just one type of tank, or even two. 3 top-of-the-line modern tanks are joining the fight. First up is the British Challenger 2 tank, which has been in service since 1998 and has been used by the British Army and their Arab allies in Oman. Operated by a 4-man crew with high-tech armor, it boasts a 5-inch tank gun that can fire high-explosive and armor-piercing rounds, along with a chain gun and machine gun. This tank isn't considered the most powerful or advanced anymore, but it's still considered one of the toughest. Only one has ever been destroyed in combat in Iraq, and that's because it was caught in a friendly fire incident with its hatch open. While a new replacement tank is in development, the Challenger 2 isn't expected to be retired anytime soon, and Great Britain is now committing to sending 14 tanks to Ukraine. But that's just the start. The other 2 modern tanks being sent were the big prizes, and both Germany and the United States were hesitant to send them. First up is the German Leopard 2 tank, a third-generation tank that's been in service since 1979. It's become the primary tank for the German army and has been deployed to 13 other European countries, as well as Canada, South America, and countries in Asia. A modern high-tech tank, it's known for its smoothbore cannon armed with a digital fire control system, laser rangefinder, and advanced night vision system. That makes it perfect for a high-tech war and has seen combat in Kosovo, Afghanistan, and Syria in recent years. Like the Challenger, it has a 4-man crew. This tank has already found itself in countries around Ukraine, including Poland, and while those governments were willing to donate some to the cause, the terms of the contract required German approval before the tanks could be sent to another country. Ultimately, Germany agreed to send 14 tanks to start up and 88 in total, with deliveries starting in spring 2023. But the biggest gun might be coming from across the pond. The M1 Abrams tank has been in action since 1980. But it's still considered one of the best tanks in the world. It's also one of the heaviest, weighing almost 10 tons more than the Leopard 2. This was the first U.S. tank to boast a multi-fuel turbine engine, a computerized fire control system, and separate ammunition storage. It uses a licensed German smoothbore tank gun, but many other features are completely different from the Leopard. It also has a 4-person crew made up of the commander, gunner, loader, and driver. While there have been multiple attempts to create new generations of tanks to replace it, the Abrams has remained the primary tank for the U.S. Armed Service, and it's also used by countries including Australia, Poland, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and Kuwait. The Abrams was a big prize for Zelensky, and now 31 of the tanks will be coming to Ukraine as part of an aid package. There's just one challenge. All these tanks are high-tech machines coming from different development processes and requiring extensive training to master. Not only that, but all 3 have different requirements to be certified as a crew member. So, top members of the Ukrainian Armed Forces will have to start training very soon to master them. With 3 different tanks coming to Ukraine, the people in charge will have to carefully divide their resources and make sure that all 3 tanks are being utilized effectively. And it might have already begun. The Challenger 2 tank was the first to arrive, and at the end of January, Ukrainian troops were already being sent to Great Britain to begin training. This is the most old school of the tanks, and it's estimated training will take around 5 weeks. This will give the Ukrainians several weeks to get acquainted with the weapon before it's deployed in Ukraine. It's estimated that every one of these tanks will cost around $5 million, and these hardy tanks are likely to be key for the upcoming battle against Russia's spring mobilization. But while the Challenger is likely to hit the ground soon, the same might not be the case for the others. Toward the end of January 2023, a Russian news agency released a report claiming that the Leopard 2 tank was going to be coming to Ukraine, but it might not be of any use to them for a long time. They claimed it was going to take years for Ukrainians to fully learn how to use the Leopard tanks, and that maintenance and upkeep was going to be an ongoing problem. To this, Ukrainians and their supporters responded, of course they'd say that. But while Russia might be exaggerating the difficulty of learning how to use these modern-age tanks, the Leopard 2 does require extensive training. Most official estimates are that it takes at least 5 weeks and up to 2 months to be fully able to manage the Leopard 2's features, and the American entry might be the hardest to master. It's likely that the Abrams will be the last to arrive in Ukraine due to the lack of proximity and the late approval. The Abrams uses a different fuel compared to the Leopard and the Challenger, with the latter two using diesel. The Abrams, however, uses a combination of diesel and jet fuel, which is much harder to obtain and store. Additionally, the high-tech features of the Abrams prolongs the training period, which means that those Ukrainian soldiers who train on this tank will be in school for a bit longer. The base length of training on the M1 Abrams is 10 weeks, while those who are training for specialized roles might need up to 6 months of advanced individual training, which puts everyone in Ukraine in a tricky situation. Most analysts believe the war is frozen at the moment, with the cold winter leaving both armies hesitant to make any big moves. After all, you never invade Russia in the winter, and apparently Russia doesn't invade anyone else in the winter either. Most of the action has been limited to small skirmishes around the city of Bakhmut, which was largely destroyed in the beginning of the war, but most military observers say that Russia is mobilizing its troops again, looking to send them in from various points in the east, south, and possibly even the north through Belarus. This could be Russia's last desperate attempt to penetrate deep into Ukraine before they run out of manpower and equipment, with no real way to replenish them due to sanctions, which means maximizing the effectiveness of these modern tanks could be critical. Ukraine is facing a key test as a modern army here. With a possible overload of high-quality military equipment, all these tanks have advanced armor and powerful weapons, but they're all suited for different missions. The Leopard 2 is the all-purpose tank, ideal for most situations. The Challenger is one of the toughest tanks ever created, ideal for high-fire scenarios in the middle of battle, while the Abrams has the most advanced firing system, and its night vision is ideal for stealthier missions, although its large size makes it difficult to maneuver. So how does Ukraine decide where to spend its efforts? The answer may be on all of them at the same time, despite the drain that would cause on its manpower. While Ukraine is likely to need a lot of soldiers to defend itself against the Russian invasion, it's employed a vastly different strategy compared to Russia, rarely using large numbers of soldiers to break a line, normally resulting in high casualties. Ukraine can rely on foreign weaponry to strike from afar, and these tanks will be another invaluable weapon for breaking enemy lines. But while Ukraine has the advantage in terms of weaponry, it still faces the challenge of deciding how to delegate its manpower. The odds are Zelensky has already come up with an answer to this dilemma. Ukraine now knows for the first time which tanks are coming and when, and it has the task of turning ordinary soldiers into tank operators. Thankfully, Ukraine already has a group of people suited for the task, soldiers who have used the T-84. While the Soviet-era Ukrainian tanks are a far cry from the modern tanks, the users do have to master some of the same skills: driving heavy machinery, maneuvering a massive vehicle through close quarters, and firing long-range weaponry. So skilled tank operators will likely be first in line to be delegated to training, most likely to the Challenger, but other skills might be necessary for the newer models. While heavy machinery experience will be a key part of managing any of these tanks, the people chosen to man the Leopard and the Abrams might need more specialized skills in handling computerized weapon systems. And while the US, UK, and Germany will all be providing behind-the-scenes support and allowing Ukrainians to train on the tanks in their countries, there is one thing they cannot do: provide actual on-site government support, because that would be getting directly involved in the war. And much of this war has been a delicate game of helping Ukraine as much as possible without potentially giving Putin an excuse to escalate. So Ukraine's biggest challenge is no longer getting their hands on the tanks they need to win the war. It's now making sure they have crews set up to use them before what's likely to be the decisive battle of this year-old war. Want to know more about another advanced weapon system coming to Ukraine in the coming months? Check out why Russia is scared of Ukraine using NASAMS launchers, or watch this video instead.